This is one of the most famous steam locomotives in America, and also the longest, clocking in at almost 1 million pounds. Join me, from dining in first class like they did during the golden era of rail travel, to gliding through some of the most scenic, sweeping landscapes of the American Midwest. Today, this wartime engine pulls passengers across 3 states through the heart of the country in what is truly a once-in-a-lifetime steam train experience, and quite frankly, everybody needs at least once in their lifetime. Let's begin. Over a year ago, I began a series dedicated to telling the stories of how our railways built the West, from the grand railway hotels that drew travelers across the continent to the engineering marvels that connected all of it together, and of course, steam. This series is my love letter to the mode of transportation that built it all, from the biggest to the most scenic, the most famous, and all the forgotten ones in between. I'm rewinding the clock to experience rail travel the way that it was meant to be, and today's focus is the Nickelplate 765. Now, my journey to Indiana actually begins about 2,000 kilometers northeast on the edge of the Atlantic in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I just spent 24 hours on board the Ocean, a sleeper train bound for Montreal, where I'd grab a rental car and begin a 13-hour drive south towards the US border. I crossed into Michigan at sunset, and the next morning, greeted by a gorgeous sunrise, I found myself pulling into Pleasant Lake, Indiana, where I would come face to face with one of the most famous steam locomotives in the world. This engine was built in 1944 by the Lima Locomotive Works as a Berkshire-class steam engine. She would end up being retired in 1958 and placed on display in Fort Wayne's Lawton Park. She would rest here until 1974, when a bunch of local rail fans formed the Fort Wayne Railroad Historical Society and began her restoration process. And by 1979, for the first time in over 2 decades, she was pulling passengers again. And since then, she has traveled all over the country, from New Jersey to Alabama, Chicago to St. Louis. But today's excursion starts right here in Pleasant Lake, Indiana. This beautiful 80-year-old coal-burning engine is going to carry over 22 tons of coal and 23,000 gallons of water behind her to power this entire experience 33 miles north and into Michigan. This is 765, and this is the longest steam train on the continent. I'm riding it today.
Yeah, you're good to go. Okay. You are good to go.
Awesome, man.
How are you?
Dude, this is like Disneyland. And behind the consist this morning, we're pulling a beautiful 14-car consist, a lineup that includes a strong presence of stainless steel bud cars from the great steel fleet of the 1940s. Once operated by the New York Central Railway, the same railway that built Grand Central Station in downtown New York City. Now, these bud cars were the gold standard of American rail travel during the golden era. They were prestigious, and they were basically bomb-proof, built to last forever, as you see still standing here almost 85 years later. And they're almost the exact same cars that you see me ride on the Canadian up in Canada that are 75 years into their service as well. But at the head of the consist is the Kitchi Gammi Club car, which is where my first class ticket has me situated today. And short of chartering the Roanoke, which is the private car at the very end of the train, this is the best ticket that money can buy on this Fall Colors excursion. This car was built in 1923 by the same Nickelplate road that built the locomotive pulling us today. Now, she was nearly scrapped after an accident towards the end of her career, but was thankfully saved and restored magnificently for this Indiana rail experience, which today even includes a private chef, which I'll cover more on a bit later. And with all 250 passengers aboard, I was ready to ride a once-in-a-lifetime steam experience. This route that we are running on heads northeast across the main line of today's Indiana Northeastern Railway, through the quiet beauty of the Midwest. And it's actually a lot more scenic than you might think at first glance, passing along golden fields, the gentle rolling hills, and although the rail fans trying to spot our locomotive above this bridge as you see here may probably disagree after getting a nice blast of soot at 9 in the morning from our engine passing under them. But it wasn't long after that we'd roll through our first small town of the day, Angola, Indiana, marked by the water tower above, as you see here, and it was around now that I'd start to settle into my first class accommodations for the trip. This Kitchi Gammi Club Lounge is nothing short of stunning. The polished interior, classical touches, and that gorgeous morning sunlight coming in through the vintage windows, it's just magical. But I actually could have sat in the dining area towards the front of the car if I'd boarded a little bit sooner, as this is a first come first served basis. But this isn't the end of the world, because I was traveling solo, so it just gives me a chance to socialize with some of the other passengers surrounding me. And right on cue, shortly after that, breakfast was served hot, right to my seat. In this car, the Indiana Rail Experience serves a classic Pullman-style breakfast, composed of buttery scrambled eggs, shredded hash browns with bacon bits, 3 strips of crispy bacon, and thick slices of French toast, served with a little bit that nectar of the north, the real deal, 100% pure Canadian maple syrup. Although I probably could have done without these strawberries being tossed in sugar, so I had something like really fresh and really clean to cut through all the richness at the end of breakfast. This was hands down the best and most complete breakfast I think I've ever had in my life. 2 thumbs up, I'd give 3 if I had them, and couple that with bottomless coffee, served in these really classy Pullman mugs. What a way to start the experience. And speaking of coffee, because we all know you only rent it and you never buy it, check out these gorgeous bathrooms on board the car. This is on a train. Even got a shower too. You need to get a little rinsey poo. This was the last weekend of the season for this train operating. So after that, it was back to the open air vestibule for me to take in the best of the fall colors that the Midwest has to offer. Today was actually supposed to be totally overcast with a good chance of rain. But for whatever reason, I've been getting so lucky with the weather on all my train trips lately, so thank you to the train gods and Mother Nature for that. Because as we began to roll deeper into the countryside, the sun really amplifies the scenic nature of this route, bringing those autumn gold and oranges, as well as those super deep reds into focus as we continue to wind through it. And as these rolling hills of Indiana slowly begin to transform into the farmers' cornfields, that signals our official crossing over the state line and into our second state of 2 for this trip, Michigan.
on your way to work today on a Friday morning, you're waiting at a crossing, and then there's some steam engine from the 1940s that rolls by.
The locomotive shoots off exhaust, or it's soot, right? Soot from the boiler and from the firebox. It comes down the tracks as we go through, gonna get some in your eyes, so safety first. I'm about to swim the 400 meter free stroke. We trek northeast and through Reading, Michigan, marked by the grain elevator as you see here, and it's actually the tallest elevator on this entire line. Now, this trip is called the Fall Colors Excursion for obvious reasons, but to be honest, I wasn't really sure what to expect coming into today, because I've never been on a train anywhere in the United States before. But I did know that the fall colors around Michigan were spectacular from when I was playing professional hockey there a few years ago, but this was something else. I mean, these fall colors could not possibly have been any more peak than right here at the end of October. And as that sunlight lights up not just the landscapes around us, but those beautiful 1940s stainless steel cars that I'm in, it is just a spectacular sight for sore eyes and a sight to be seen in person. I mean, don't get me wrong, the video looks great, what you're seeing here, but it truly doesn't do it justice to what I saw with my own two eyes. Hi, train people! That's awesome. This color. About 2 hours into our trip, we would arrive into Hillsdale, Michigan. And as you can see from the video, our train is monstrous, stretching well beyond the crossings and into the heart of town. And as 765 pulls all 250 passengers aboard into our midway point here in Michigan.
Hillsdale, first station stop and only of the day.
Once upon a time, these very tracks stretched all the way down into downtown Detroit, outside the famous Michigan Central Station and the 18 passenger tracks that it once served. A terminal that would lead east towards Montreal's Windsor Station, Toronto Union, or New York Grand Central. Today, Hillsdale is basically the end of the line as the tracks were ripped out many years ago. But this is a college town with a pretty good food scene from what the locals told me. And actually right across the street from where our locomotive is parked is a barbecue joint, and they got some elite pulled pork and beef brisket. So if you're in need of a high protein diet like me, this is the place to go during our 2-hour stopover. This train has so many cool stories, but I think one that stands out for me, right behind me, this is the elephant car. And I know it may sound crazy, but this car was actually used once upon a time to transport elephants for the circus. The floors were actually boosted up about a foot before they were about a foot lower. It's for elephants that would come off the platform and then come out for the circus. And they still have all the design work from those days. Like, they have stayed so true to the historical aspects. How cool is that? But it gets even better. One of the engineers that is driving our locomotive today had actually seen some of my older videos on the Railway Hotels of Canada and offered to invite me up for a ride in the engine. And you can bet that I was pretty happy to accept that offer. And as I mentioned earlier, 765 is one of the few coal-burning engines still alive, which means that these men up here got their work cut out for them to power this old girl up. And Grant, our lead engineer, would put 765 into gear down to the Y track so we could completely turn everything around and head back towards Indiana. And he has literally been firing steam engines for almost twice as long as I have been alive. Like, that is a lot of experience. And it's truly hard to convey the amount of sheer power that she is producing as we pound down the tracks. Like, it's actually almost unfathomable unless you're sitting exactly where I am, right at the front of the engine. And she can get up to a top speed of 70 miles an hour, but we're currently going 25 miles, which is only topping out 30% of her power. Not long after, we would begin slowing down for a stop here in Rhea, Michigan for what is called a run-by. The Fort Wayne Railroad Historical Society truly tries to offer something for everybody, and the run-by means all passengers are going to get off the train is then going to back up, and then come back full speed ahead, running by us, as the ground beneath us will begin to shake. This is like the Super Bowl of trains. Where else can you pay to ride a train, get off, train spot, do a run by, and get back on? Super Bowl, Stanley Cup, whatever you want to call it, but that's pretty cool. I'd hop back on and we begin the final part of our journey back to Pleasant Lake. But I gotta say, I don't think anything else on the planet brings people out of their cars, or in some cases out of their houses, quite like a steam locomotive. I mean, it's so contagious, and it's why I began this series personally. And as you've been able to see from the dozens, to be honest, if not hundreds of people standing trackside that have come from literally all over the United States, from all over the world, just to see this engine.
Everybody wants to see the big show. It's crazy how many people are out there.
And speaking of absolutely crapping your pants when this thing rolls by, you're probably going to need a great pair of underwear, which is why you need today's video sponsor, Sheath underwear. Sheath redefines underwear for men. From the dual pouch compartment to separate your cannoli and your mozzarella so that nothing touches, and ultimately will leave you fresher for longer. Couple that with their bamboo mesh that breathes like nothing you've ever experienced before. Why are you wearing the ripped underwear that you have on now that doesn't stretch back anymore? Make an investment that'll actually pay off, and I'll make it even easier for you to do so by getting you 20% off the greatest underwear on this planet with my code TRAV, that's TRAV, my name. So click that link in the video description and use the code TRAV, my name, for 20% off Sheath underwear today. And thank you so much to Sheath for sponsoring this video and making this series possible. As we make our final approach into Pleasant Lake, I gotta say that the Fort Wayne Railroad Historical Society and the Indiana Rail Experience have crafted a truly world-class excursion here. Considering that they have gone from 2021 and not owning anything to now fully restoring and owning 14 cars with plenty more to come, it is beyond impressive how much they've grown in such a short period of time, and the absolute hunger and dedication to preserving history and their craft. Most people's only train experience is being stuck at a freight crossing and being late on their way to work. And if more people got a chance to experience what I did here today, I think it would change everything. And led by their visionary Kelly Lynch and the amazing team of volunteers behind him, I have never seen such a commitment to preserving history. And the truth is that these guys are only getting started. They even recently acquired the New York Central 3001 steam locomotive, which is currently undergoing a $4 million restoration, which will make them the only operators on Earth with 2 massive mainline steam locomotive excursions. And couple that with the Riding Mountain Park dome car from the Canadian Pacific Canadian, and more that are soon to be restored, it's only going to grow and get better from here. But I hope you feel as inspired watching this video as I felt experiencing it firsthand. And truth be told, videos like this and Instagram likes are great, but the only way to keep stuff like this around and running is to come to Indiana and to ride it and experience the magic of the railway. So with that said, I will put a link in the video description to learn more if you want to ride this exact same experience the same way that I did. But I want to know, have you ever ridden 765? Have you rode another famous American steam locomotive? Or do you have a story to tell? Whatever it is, leave it in the comments section below because I would genuinely love to hear it. And hit the subscribe button for more steam locomotive videos just like this, because next week I'm riding the Kettle Valley Steam Train in Summerland, British Columbia. the biggest steam locomotives still operating in Canada, running along one of the steepest and most dangerous railways ever built. All that and more coming up next week. And if you don't want to wait, you can watch the White Pass and Yukon steam train video that I did a few weeks ago into the fjords of Alaska. I also want to give a special thanks to Adam Matthews. He is a volunteer for the Fort Wayne Railroad Historical Society, and if it wasn't for his help and his plethora of knowledge, this video would not have turned out the way that it did. So thank you so much, my friend, for all of your hard work and helping me. Thank you so much to Sheath Underwear for sponsoring this video, making it possible. And thank you to you for watching. And I will see you next week for another steam train in Canada. I'll see you then.